Good evening, everybody, and welcome to our final session for 2025 Fly Tying Techniques. Should be a very good session tonight. I think you'll all enjoy Fred an awful lot. Before I get further down the road here and introduce Fred, I want to ask Larry if he would chat for just a moment about the book that he and Eric Austin are working on for fly tying or for the fly tying group.
Rick, I'll be real quick so we can get to Fred. It's pretty exciting. We're weeks away from the book coming out, Fly Tying for All Fish, All Waters. Excuse me, a bunch of people on this call are in the book. It's going to be a hardcover, well over 320 pages. It'll be available on the FFI store at some point in time. Hopefully soon. You can do pre-orders. Tires from last year's rendezvous are in the book. Probably approximately 50 tires, 30 tires, 50 patterns. There's a looking back section to the earlier Conclave books. So people like the Beatties, Al's on the call tonight. I think Wayne Llewellyn, Craig Matthews, Scott Sanchez, Bruce Staples. They're all revisiting patterns from, believe it or not, 35 years ago. And you can still fish them today. And there's a chapter on how to become a better tyer, which is just a phenomenal chapter. I mean, there's people like Charlie Craven, Tim Flagler, Tom Rosenbauer, Skip Morris, Kelly Gallup, all great insight on how to become a better tyer. Nobody got paid to put this book together. Nobody got paid to contribute to the book. The only cost is the printing cost. Every dime of profits going to the Busick Library to develop that online. So there'll be a article on it in the next Whip Finish Journal, and then look for it. I'm sure we'll send out some email blasts and when you can buy it, and it should be on the FFI store soon. Thanks, Rick.
You bet. Thank you very much.
How much is it, Larry?
$75.
Okay. Thank you so very much. I'm looking forward to the thing, without a doubt. Tonight, we have a gentleman from Louisiana. I'm sure that most of you have heard of one way or another. Maybe good, maybe bad, I don't know. But hopefully good. Fred Hannie is our speaker for tonight. And Fred's a dental technician, has owned and operated a dental lab for 40 plus years. He added this to his bio because it parallels his fly tying as an attempt to mimic a small part of his life. Fred's primary focus, though, is making imitative flies. Fred's flies have been featured in books and magazines, as well as online publications. His flies have been used as props in television shows and movies. In addition, Fred's flies can also be found in numerous fly fishing museums. Fred has been awarded the Charles E. Brooks Lifetime Achievement Award, and most recently, 2024, was one of two of the Buzz Music Award recipients, which, again, congratulations for. Fred has published two books, Fly Tying with Monofilament and Uncommon Flies. Fred, with that, I want to thank you for taking your time this evening to share with all of us. The device and the floor is yours.
Thanks, Rick. Tonight I wanted to share with y'all a extended body technique. This was taught to me by David Martin, and I use this extended body to tie every fly that has an abdomen, from grasshoppers to wasps, bees, even spiders. So it's the same basic technique all the way through. It's going to take just a short time to get through the technique. It's not very, I'll say it's a simple technique. Simple doesn't always translate into easy, but there's very few steps, very few materials. If you stick with it and practice this technique, you can start adding to patterns really quickly. I call this imitative fly tying. In my opinion, there's two basic types of fly tying. There's impressionistic and imitative. The only difference is impressionistic, it gives you a vague sense of the prey that you're trying to mimic, and imitative will have the exacting number of legs, wings, etc. of the actual insect. Let's see. David taught me this technique, and he came up with it because at one point in his life, he was a taxidermist. And this was back before you could buy pre-made body shapes for even a duck mount. It would have a pre-made form that you can order, and you would take the skin off the duck and pull it over this form so it would hold the shape. Before they made these forms, taxidermists would take twine and straw and they would fashion their own bodies. And this is where he came up with the initial technique to make these extended bodies. The materials we're going to use is deer hair, thread, and monofilament. Let's see. Okay, if one of the things he taught me when he was told me when he was teaching me this is to think of the monofilament as the skeletal structure, and the deer hair and thread as the flesh. And this will become apparent as we get a little more into the pattern. Rick, if you'll put up one of the first images. Okay.
Well,
On this screen here, it goes into how to get correct proportions off of an image. So whenever possible, I like to catch a specimen like this yellow jacket here. I wanted to make a yellow jacket, and I wanted to make it as close to the proportions as possible. So I caught one and photographed it. From the photograph, you can actually take a ruler to your computer screen and measure the entire length of the yellow jacket on the screen. And the case I was using, this one, it measured 90 millimeters. Then I had to determine how big I wanted the wasp to be. So I looked up on the internet and found what the average length of a yellow jacket was. And it was 5/8 of an inch to 3/4 of an inch, or 13 to 25 millimeters. So just to make sure that this one was in the mid range, I measured my specimen and it measured out 18 millimeters. So I was just going to go straight off of this one, but I wanted to come up with the formula how to do this in case I didn't have the specimen. And so I've tried it on several different photographs and it works. This is probably one of those math calculations that we were taught in high school that we swore we would never have to use. Well, I found a use for it. But anyway, so I know I want my wasp to be 18 millimeters, and the photograph, it's 90 millimeters. So I divide 18 into 90 and it comes out to 5 millimeters. So that means that every portion I measure on the computer screen, if I divide it by 5, that's how big that portion has to be on the flying device. So if I measure the abdomen and it's 40 millimeters, then divided by 5, it would be 8 millimeters long. Okay, so you could take that formula, measure every portion of the fly, divide it by 5. That was going to give you your actual measurements. You needed that part to be on the fly. So your proportions are going to be exact. And that's one of the main things that will distinguish one insect from another immediately. One of them is color, another one is body shape. So that's the difference between a wasp and a honeybee. You can tell the two apart even at a glance. The next picture, Rick, is a top view of the same insect. There we go. Okay, so another thing when you're getting photographs to work off of, you want to have it from as many angles as you can. Whenever you have a live specimen, they're not real easy to photograph. I had to put this little girl in the freezer for about 20 seconds to get her to calm down. They're cold-blooded, so it kind of put her in a lethargic state. I was able to extend her wings out and do what I wanted with her and take photographs without her trying to crawl off or to sting me. Let's see. If you want to go ahead and show the first picture of the grasshopper. I just have a couple of more photos and then I'll get into actually tying the extended body. So this photo is me laying the groundwork with the monofilament. So I know how long I wanted the abdomen on this thing to be, how big I wanted the thorax to be. I went ahead and tied the head in place, then the monofilament for the rest of the body. Go ahead and show the next one. The second photo is of me fleshing it out. This is adding deer hair and thread, to flesh out the body. So by adding the deer hair, you're going to add it in a way that you're probably not used to using. This isn't going to be spun. It's going to be laid out, and we're going to secure it in place with soft or light thread wraps so that we don't crush the hollow fibers of the deer hair. By holding it like this is going to allow this fly to float. It's going to become a top water bait. And then the final photo is of the finished grasshopper. Okay, any questions before we move on? Okay. Then we're gonna
I have a
switch.
question. How do you know that was a female yellow jacket?
Because drones, the male yellow jackets are very hard to find, and their abdomens are elongated. It's almost a completely different looking bug. There's very few of them. If you have a yellow jacket hive, you're probably going to have maybe 5 out of the 100 yellow jackets are going to be drones. So the odds that you're seeing one of the females is okay. Is everybody seeing the monofilament in the vise well enough? Rick?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so monofilament is cheap and I always use more than I'm going to need because trying to hold a little tiny piece of monofilament, the older I get, the harder it gets. So keep that in mind whenever you're doing this. It's always easier to put too much monofilament in the vise and then cut it down to the size you want. Another thing is most of my monofilament comes off of spools. So you'll see there's a natural curve, okay? And the abdomen that we're going to tie is going to have a curve to it. So we want to use this natural curve or this memory curve in this monofilament to our advantage. So we're going to put that slope down. What's left here in the vise is going to be our tie-in tag. It's not going to be that long, but we're going to use enough so that we can cut it down to exactly what we need. Now, for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm going to make this monofilament about 10 millimeters long. Okay. And then we're going to tie on with white thread. I use white thread on just about every fly, and then I color the thread with alcohol markers. This allows me a great range in color. Okay, one thing I want to touch on real quick is you're going to need to have a bobbin that is adjustable, or a bobbin that has no tension at all. And tying onto a 10 millimeter piece of monofilament sticking out of the vise, if you're not used to it, can give you fits. One thing you can do to mitigate that is to use a pair of tweezers and hold close to where your bobbin is laying down the thread. And that'll make things easier for you. Now this piece of extra thread I'm going to leave on here, and I'm going to wrap all the way down to the end, leaving that piece of thread. And I'm going to go ahead and color that black so I can see it apart from the white. When I add the deer hair, this is going to be our stinger, and we're just going to leave that on the end. The deer,
Fred,
pardon me?
Fred, we've got a couple of questions here, if you don't mind.
Sure, go.
Okay. Bill wants to know, is there a specific type of monofilament and what the diameter is? And then Aaron asked, what is the weight of the mono?
Okay. Yeah, I should have hit on that. Okay, for this fly here, I'm using 20-pound monofilament. And this is cheap bargain bin spools of monofilament fishing line. This is nothing special. Matter of fact, I think I got these these spools in a bargain bin for about $2 a spool. So don't go out of pocket too much on your monofilament. It's, not really necessary. And as far as pound test, I use 20-pound test on this because the part of the abdomen, it's called a petiole. The petiole is a little tiny bit of not necessarily abdomen, but not necessarily part of the thorax. It's what connects the two. Think about a wasp waist. Okay, so it's just a little tiny piece of material that connects the abdomen to the thorax. I want it to be strong, but I want it to be small. So I could have used 40, 50, even 10-pound test on the monofilament to hold the abdomen, but I used the 20 because it's going to fit in for the petiole exactly what it needs to be. The thread I'm using is Danville's Flymaster 6/0 and white. And the deer hair I'm going to be using is bleached, but you could use white or natural. Either would work fine. So the monofilament is basically our substructure for the extended body. And I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of Flex Seal. It's made by Wapsi. You can also use Dave's Fleximent. I think they're basically the same material. Okay, so for the body of this abdomen, or the flesh of this abdomen, we're going to use about 1/4 of an inch thick batch of deer hair. like so. And I'm going to go almost to the end where the stinger starts. And I'm going to lightly wrap over and then back with loose wraps all the way to the vice jaws. And then I'm going to pull tight and come back. I'm getting tighter here at the end and then back up. Okay, so we don't want to go too tight all the way across because we'll flatten all those little hollow tubes of the deer hair, and then our fly won't float well. And now I'm going to tease these back toward the stinger. And I'm going to catch them with a loose wrap. Okay. And now I want this to taper. If I continue wrapping all the way to the end, it's not going to have a taper. It's going to be the same thickness here as it is here. So at this point, I'm going to cut this at an angle. And then wrap back up. You can see I caught that little bit of hair there and stood that up. This is to give me a clear definition of where this abdomen starts to change its diameter. Okay. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and coat the threads with a little Flex Cement or Flex Seal. And the next wraps I'm going to do are going to be all thread, and it's going to be to imitate the scales on the abdomen. Those are called tergites. Individually, they're called tergum. And what they basically are is they're scales that overlap, kind of like scales of armor on a suit of armor. But it's the segments that you see when you look at the abdomen of a wasp. Normally, if I were doing this at home, I would move on to the next one. I would do several of these while I'm waiting for that cement to dry, and then I would put a coat of yellow marker on here to see if I can do it. So I'll be able to tell what's covered well and what's not with my next set of thread wraps. But it looks like it's going to be okay. Another thing about color, whenever you're doing a flight and you have two variegated colors, like on this particular one with black and yellow, you want to always lay down the yellow first. If you lay down the black first, the yellow won't show up on it. So keep that in mind. Whatever your colors are, you want to lay down the lightest one first. And so I'm going to work the thread back to the end, and we're going to start making segments of thread. And as I'm doing this, it's also building up the width of the fly. You can see where I skipped a little bit so that you can see that there's actual separation between the segments. And at this point, you can whip finish your abdomen. Any questions so far?
Let's see. What kind of marker are you using on that?
The markers I'm using are Copic. And they're a little pricey. To be honest, the reason I'm using them is they were once a sponsor of mine and they loaded me up with them. So until I run out, I'm still a Copic man. So I thought if we did run out of time, or I mean, still had a bunch of time left, if y'all wanted to see how I make the heads on these, I could show that.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
William asked if you're particular to any other color or any particular color. I'm assuming that it's.
I was meaning on the Copic marker. Does he have a favorite color?
Oh,
There is 3 colors that I use a lot. One of them is Spanish olive. One of them is brick beige. And the other one is dark bark. It's a brown, a tan, and an olive. The reason I like the Spanish olive so much is all the dragonfly nymphs in this area are basically that color with a little bit of chartreuse in. And just about every aquatic insect has one of those 3 colors in it. So I use them a lot. Okay, so on these,
one other.
all you want, I'm here for.
Okay, Al asked if you cleaned the underfur from the deer hair.
Yes, I did it off camera. I'm sorry about that.
Okay, and then John would like to know if are the Copics on alcohol pen?
Yes, they are. Copic also has an air gun that you can hook up to a small compressor, or it runs on compressed air in a can. And the chisel, they have a, let's see, they have a chisel point and a feather edge. On the chisel point, you can load it into the blower and the air throws the marker and you can use it as an airbrush. It's pretty cool. It's one of the things that attracted me to them. Okay, so for wasp and bees and anything that just about flies, I like to use these curved hooks. It's Daiichi 1160. This one is a size 12. So I'm going to start by wrapping on just behind the hook eye. And at this point, I have to know how big my head is going to be, because I need to make a little ball of thread that's going to hold the center of the head off of the eye. So I'm going to make a little ball of thread, and I know that without measuring that this needs to be about 2 millimeters for this particular wasp. And because I'm going to build up on this little ball of thread, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of head cement. Now I'm going to go back to the 20 pound test monofilament. And I'm going to cut about a 15 millimeter piece of mono, lay it on top of that little ball that I made. And I'm going to crisscross wrap this and then figure 8 wrap it. Can y'all see that okay? Or do I need to darken it?
Put your hand behind it.
Yeah,
You go.
Fred, just touch your finger to the hook while it's there and it'll focus on it.
Yeah.
So, who is that? Barry?
Yeah,
Okay. Thanks, Barry.
you bet. Yeah, so as long as your fingers are up there doing stuff, it focuses tremendously.
Okay, so I am looking for my antenna. For the antenna, I'm going to use, oh goodness, I'm going to use some tippet material. This is Mason's Hard 3-pound test. And I am going to go ahead and take my marker and darken it before I put it up there. And so while that is drying, I am going to get the deer hair cut for this. Now I want to cut about 1/8 of an inch of deer hair. So I'm going to clean the underfur. And then I have this much deer hair and all the tapered fibers are pointing that way. If I tie it on the monofilament that way, it's going to have a taper away from me. To prevent that, I'm going to take about half of those fibers and turn them the opposite way. So I should have about an equal amount of fibers heading either way. So I'm going to take my thread and I'm going to wrap this deer hair onto the monofilament that's on top of the hook.
Wow.
And now I'm going to put a little flex cement on there. And while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to tie in my antenna. So these are going to go under the deer hair and tied against the hook shank. Once again, I'm using more than I need. So I'm not playing with little tiny pieces. And now I'm going to wrap over this way and over this way to hold my antenna in position. Now they're longer than I need. I'm going to cut those later. So to make the head, we take the two parts and we fold them together. We take our bobbin and wrap those. I'm just trying to get the loose fibers corralled now. Okay, I'm going to hit this with a little more flex mint. And I'm going to go ahead, if I can find my lighter. No, maybe not.
Questions, Fred?
Yeah, hit me.
Okay. Aaron wants to know if you're still using the white thread. It looks like it.
Yes.
Okay. And Patricia would like to know if you could zoom in to see it closer.
How's that?
That's awesome.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and color this.
Okay. And then you ever put in half-hitch knots to hold it in place?
It's not needed. You could do it, but it's really not needed.
Want to zoom back out a little bit. There we go.
Now there is one little bit of UV resin that I use, and that's to make the eye. And so I'll take a little bit of UV resin on a needle and form an eye. I'll put one on each side. And then I'll just take a black marker.
Wow.
Yeah, back it up just a little bit, Fred. It's really blurry.
Yeah, I'm trying to grab something in the drawer that the vice is holding. Forget it. How about there?
Oh, zoom it out. Okay, now zoom in a little bit more. There, right there. Good. That's cool.
Okay, here is a honeybee that's done the exact same way. The head, the abdomen are done. It's just different size, different colors. Here's what the finished product of this one will look like when it's completely done.
How do you go about attaching there you go.
Okay, so before you attach the abdomen, you have to decide how big your thorax is going to be. Because if the thorax is too long, it'll look out of proportion. If it's too close, it'll look out of proportion. So we have to figure out from the measurements how big the thorax should be, and then we have to leave a space for the petiole, and we have to leave a space for the neck. Now the neck is not going to be any more than what you're seeing here. It's just a little bit of the hook covered with thread. And the whole thorax is going to be about 4.5 millimeters. So we're going to measure that out, add a millimeter for the petiole, and take away another millimeter for the neck. And that should give us just the right size. Well, you want to keep going on this?
Yeah, a couple of comments and questions here.
All right.
And let's see. Al says, wow, making the ice the way he did was great. And John Wright says, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And
Well, it's a little rushed and a little nervous, but you get the idea.
oh, yeah, it looks great. Dennis would like to know what you wanted the lighter for.
The lighter is used to heat kink the monofilament for the antenna. So what I do is I'll heat a bodkin, or in this case, a needle, and I'll use it to bend the monofilament.
Ah,
Okay, so a caveat to that is monofilament is cheap. Do not burn monofilament on your fly in the vise. Test it out on a piece of scrap material. I started out by heating the lighter. Heating the needle with the lighter and counting 1001, 1002, then try it on a piece of monofilament. If the monofilament is real thick, like a 40 or 50 pound piece, then 2 seconds might not be enough. I might have to, heat it to 3,000, 4,000, and then try it. What you don't want to do is heat it to 4,000 and go to a piece of 10-pound monofilament or 3-pound, as in this case, because you just burn right through it. And what are you going to do? You can't glue it back on. So it's start over, or this fly doesn't have antenna. But yeah.
okay.
Monofilament is, or at least monofilament fishing line, is vinyl. It's mixed and heated, and then it's extruded through a form to get its diameter. And then it's wrapped on spools, and it holds that memory. So to bend it and keep it in a shape, you need to use heat. And that's why we heat up, the needles and then bend them.
Okay, that makes a lot of good sense. Michael Taggart says, can you show us how do you make the legs?
Okay.
We'll show how to attach them. In other words, you got plenty of time if you've got the materials and are ready, if you want to finish the rest of the fly. I think we'd all be like to see that.
This tripod down for just a second so I can get this lighter out of this drawer. And then I have to put it back in position. Okay, that looks real good on my screen. Can y'all see that as well?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks
that's
real.
the best focus we've had.
Okay. All right, so I've got a bunch of glue on my needle, so I'm gonna burn that off and let this thing cool down again. Now, if I wanted to, some of these wasps, their antennas flare at the end. And to make them wider, you can simply flatten them with a pair of smooth jaw pliers. I use these a lot. There's a lot of different uses for them in this type of tying. Before I can show you a leg, I'm going to have to build that thorax up a little bit. So I'm going to take some 40-pound monofilament, and then I'm going to to make equal parts or equal lengths, I'm going to even up the ends and then cut in the middle. And I'm going to use sections of 2 to start tying on. To build up the thorax. And this is where it gets a little tricky because everything we add to it is going to add to the finished product. And we still got to tie in 3 sets of legs and 2 pairs of wings. So we can't get this thorax too close to finished size. And see, I'm remembering to leave a little bit of room for the neck. A little bit of room for the end of the abdomen. Okay. That should be enough for that. Every time that I get to a little stopping point, I will take a little bit of flex cement and seal those threads. Most flies, you only put head cement on the exposed thread, which is usually the head of the fly. On this type of fly, I've got exposed thread everywhere. The whole fly is basically exposed thread. So I use flex cement for 2 different things. One, it binds all the threads together. And 2, it separates colors. So like on the back here, I've got yellow and black. If I would have put the black on right after I put the yellow on with no barrier between them, they would have blended together. So by using the Flex Seal, I can keep the colors separate. So on building a leg, we build them in sets. So the back 2 legs are going to be 1 set, and I'm going to tie in underneath the thorax. Okay, y'all seeing that okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. I don't know if you want to just show them the anatomy photo of the yellow jacket again, just so they can familiarize themselves with the way the legs are shaped.
Okay, that'll do.
Okay. So on a wasp, let's look at the back leg. So it's got what's called a coxa, which is the base segment, and then a trochanter, which is just a small joint right before the femur, then the tibia, and then the tarsa. I know this is kind of heavy for a fishing fly, but if you want to tie an imitative fly, we need to get at least some of these segments into the pattern. So basically, we're going to just do a femur, a tibia, and a tarsus. And the tarsus is a foot. Okay. So the femur is going to be this first section right off of the thorax. And to build it up, we're just going to build it up with thread. Now, if this was a bigger fly, instead of using one piece of monofilament, well, I'll tell you what, I'll just show you on this one. I'm going to add another piece of 10-pound test to show you. There's two ways to do this. One of them is just to build up the different parts of the leg with thread. You can do that just with thread wraps. Another way to do it would be something similar to, oh shoot, what do you call those leaders that are several different pieces of monofilament that reduce? Tapered. No, not tapered. There's another word for it. Anybody?
Knotted.
Pearl?
Furled. That's what it is.
Uh,
Yeah. So this is similar to a furled technique. Okay, so we have two pieces of monofilament, and we're going to keep those two together. We're going to build them up until we get to the first joint. And I'm kind of doing this from rote, but if I were doing this for the first time, I would know how far I wanted that first joint to be. And I'm going to take my lighter and I'm going to put just a little bend in there to denote where this joint is. And the reason I'm not going ahead and forming the joint completely is because I need these legs to kind of stay straight while I finish tying the rest of this fly. Okay, then I'll know how far to go down for this joint. And then just like that furled leader, I'm going to reduce in size to there. And if I could find my tweezers, I would show you more. Where is my tweezers? I swear, things go missing on my fly tying desk. I just don't have. But I'm right back up here. Okay, so you can see there, it's thickest here at the femur, then it's a little bit lighter, and then here we just have the bare monofilament. Now for the little part down here, the tarsa, you can see I took these wire dikes and I squeezed into the monofilament to make these segments without cutting all the way through. And then for the end, for the foot, I'm going to snip it and it makes a little bit of a foot there. And let me grab a different color marker for that foot. Wasn't planning to get this far, but here we are. And okay. So any question on leg building?
Have you done anything with mandibles to make them look realistic?
I have. If you go back to the hopper picture, is probably the best example. Any one of the first two hopper pictures, you can see made the mandibles out of monofilament. But all the techniques are the same, regardless of the insect. It's just different size, different color. Anything else?
What do you use for the wings on the hopper?
That is tissue paper colored with markers and coated with Flexament. Let's see if I can do a demonstration on that.
To build the body on the hopper, or are you just using the mono to kind of build it up like you did with the wasp?
I used a mono just for the framework, really. I believe on the first picture I gave you, Rick, it shows the framework of the thorax and the abdomen. And then all you see on the next photo is the deer hair and thread that fleshed it out. If I made it all of mono, it wouldn't hardly float.
Can you all see that all right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
See, I make a little grass shrimp completely out of monofilament, and it sinks like a stone. But the tissue paper I use, it's similar to the tissue you would put in a gift bag, and it holds color different if it's coated and if it's not coated. So depending on the color you want, you can color a portion of it.
John, like to know, can you come back again? This is amazing, and now I'm excited about a new approach to fly tying.
Sure.
We'll put you on the schedule for next season.
Okay, so I just put a little marker on this just to show you how to make the wings. And I also use this for promotums and elytra. Elytra are the wing cases on beetles. And I don't know how, but over the researching this stuff, I kind of became a amateur entomologist. I guess we all do when we try to learn about what the fish are going to eat. I'm sure a lot of you know life cycles of insects, when they hatch, when they spawn. Okay, so this is going to look different when it dries, but it becomes very tough. It's very hard to tear once this head cement sets up on there. And once this color is set, then you can add another color on top of it and blend colors. You could even
Fred, like for building the pronotum, you just put lots of coats of Flexament on it to build up the thickness?
no, I put more sheets of the tissue paper.
Ah, okay. So you're building a plywood structure in effect.
Exactly. Yep.
Very cool.
Yeah, and by doing it that way also, so if I were to put the next sheet to be a tan color and the next sheet to be a even lighter color, then you have a depth of color, which you see all over the place in nature, but you don't see in inanimate objects.
That's Fred, that's really cool.
Thank you.
Yes, that is.
So if you have any questions, shoot, because I could talk about this stuff all night.
We got lots of time, so we got about 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes. If you you all want to pick Fred's brain, I'm sure he's ready to do that. And Barry also put in here, they were posted to the Fly Tying Group Techniques YouTube page.
Oh, cool.
That's as far as that's where the video will be of this. And I've got a bunch I had, but I think maybe I'll do this one right away and get it up there, and because it looks to me like we have a lot of interest.
I tell you, while I've got everybody on here, I was talking with Rick about this earlier. Have any of y'all heard about some flies being confiscated at the airport because customs thought they were real insects.
Ugh.
Yeah, Fred, you may remember Bill Blackstone.
Uh-huh.
That actually happened to him several times. That this was before TSA, but he was actually stopped and flies were confiscated because they were so real.
Really?
Yeah.
I had not heard that. Bill never told me that.
Yeah.
The one I was speaking of was there was a fly tyer from London or England that was coming to the international in Somerset, New Jersey. And another tyer was supposed to pick up his parcel at the airport. And when he got there, it was too expensive. He didn't have enough money. So he ended up at the show with no flies. And they came up with this story that his flies were seized by customs.
Yeah, that was
Was that Paul Willock?
Yes,
It
yes,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, that was the same story I heard. I think I read it someplace in a news ad or something.
Yeah, Bob Mead, who was the guy who was supposed to pick him up, told me about it, and he told me what a complete hassle it was.
Oh, that's crazy. That's given realistic fly tying a bad name. That and a few other incidents that I won't go into here, but that's why you don't see a lot of realistic fly tying associated with my flies. I promote them as imitative flies.
Do you cut the wings with scissors?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a template that you use to trace, or just cut them each every time?
No, if I'm doing a dozen, then I'll make a template. If I just have a bug that catches my eye and I want to duplicate it, I'll do it freehand.
Well, that what I'm looking at now is just absolutely awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely awesome.
Do you fish these flies?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, I got a
I
couple of
think they
things here.
might be durable fishing. Are they pretty durable?
Oh, absolutely.
Catch a bunch of fish on them.
Yeah, my wife has vacuumed up many of them. They'll go through a vacuum cleaner. They can handle about anything.
Have you ever had her hit one with a flash water?
No, but she's left the room quite a few times, vowing not to go clean it unless I release
Jerry,
it.
here's what this guy's tying.
Let's see. As far as the
It's
fly
a
tying group,
bumblebee. I mean, he's a great tyer.
Yeah.
But he's been an hour and 20 minutes already. Nobody's gonna tie a fly like me. Hope they can't hear me.
Yeah.
yep, they can hear.
Oh, geez.
Hold on, guys. As far as where you can find these at on the YouTube page, I'll put up the screen before I close. That'll have the address in there, so you can either screen print it or take a picture of it. So you'll have that. And it is the proper address now. Somebody sent an email to correct a mistake I had in it.
Okay.
And then, Fred, do you got a website? And if so,
No,
what's the address?
I don't have a website. However, I do have some flies on some patterns on YouTube. You can go and follow along and do step-by-steps. I also have a Instagram page and a Facebook page.
Yep, go to that Instagram page. It's amazing. Okay.
You've seen all you're going to see, a little boy, and you're lucky to get out in one piece.
Anyway,
Hey,
Aaron would
Rick,
like to know if you'd go over the bending of the leg parts again with the heated needle.
Sure. Let me tie this other one real quick.
Hey, Rick, while he's tying that, would you make yourself a mental note and send YRY Harbison 48 at Yahoo another link to these so he can watch evidently the link somebody sent didn't work right.
Huh. This is the last session, so
I thought you said he's going to do it again next Tuesday.
what's that?
Next.
I thought you said he was going to do this again next Tuesday.
Who's going to do it again next Tuesday?
The demonstrator that's tying right now.
Next season.
Next season.
Oh, next season. Okay.
Yeah.
I misunderstood. I'm sorry.
It's time to go fishing.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead, Fred. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was going to tie this other leg instead of trying to bend the other one twice.
Thank you for this, Fred. You mentioned the word inanimate, and I had carved a lot of things out of wood and stone. And the minute you put those eyes on there, it just gives it life. It's really amazing.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, eyes are a big component. I know that even when I'm painting, you can have the painting almost 80% done, and you can't tell, it's supposed to be alive or it's supposed to be animated in one particular way, and then you put the highlight in the eye and it just almost comes to life. Eyes are important.
I noticed you put a bunch of these Flexamin on the leg. You let it sit just a second, then you look like you wiped some off. Was there a reasoning behind that?
Yeah, I saw some fuzz. There was some fuzz on the leg. Now I can't find my needle.
Like when I'm doing woodworking, I put the pencil down on the table right square in front of me and it disappears.
Okay, so
Yeah, it's amazing how that happens.
I'm going to heat this for a couple of seconds. And I want this first bend to be here. So I simply grab it and bend it.
That's amazing.
And then I'm going to want the next bend about right here, going in this angle. So 1001, 1002. I'm going to come right back to that spot and bend it that way. And then this last part here is just, I'm going to make some little ridges and make the foot. Now I'm still keeping these out straight here because I got to tie in 2 more sets of legs and 2 wings, but when it's finished, these legs will be back this way.
Okay.
Okay.
Fred, the Flexament that you're using, is it just a standard or is it something special?
No, it's very standard. When David was still around, when he was still alive, he and I were working as like amateur chemists trying to find out the exact formulation because we were using buckets of this stuff. And we found that using goop and thinning it with toluene would get us really close. But there was still something else that we were missing. It wasn't just the toluene. It was, it almost felt slick. Now we're going just by the thinner, but it was like it was toluene with maybe briquette lighter fluid. We could never really nail it down. We were, at the time of his passing, we were still trying different things, trying to come up with their exact formula. But you can take goop and thin it with toluene and get a usable substance. It'll work pretty much like Flex-Amend or Flex Seal, but it doesn't seem to stay fluid as long.
Okay. Larry Olson put out back that the January 2023 issue of Whip Finish Journal has an article from Fred on some of these techniques. So if you want to have some more information, go look at the Whip Finish from 2023, January 2023, and I know I'm gonna. I read that one, but I'm going back to it.
Yeah, I have a few complete patterns on YouTube. How to tie an ant, a crawfish, a grass shrimp, and a few technique videos.
Okay. And that's just under Fred Hannie?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And if any of y'all launch off on this type of fly tying and need advice or help or tools or whatever, email me. I'll be glad to help you however I can.
Okay. Anything else for Fred? Fred, any parting words?
Nope. I appreciate you guys coming out and listening to me drone on and be nervous in front of the camera.
You did well.
You
Thank
did
Very
it
well.
very much.
exceptionally well.
Yep. So
Sure, we can't go for another hour.
If y'all can come up with an hour's worth of questions, I'm here for it.
I think you should add some fuzz to those legs, though. Just like the real insects.
Yeah.
Well, there's a way to do it. It's just at some point you have to determine, are you going to fish this? Is it going to make a difference? So I think primary anatomy is probably sufficient for a fly, but we can go to secondary anatomy for a presentation pattern.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Yeah, fish will jump on that with both feet, guarantee you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. All right. Well, I'm going to replace the spotlight here real quick so we can get doing some other quick things. But Fred, I want to personally thank you for taking your time and also for being patient after our November fiasco. For those of you that don't know, we got hacked during Fred's presentation in November, so he was gracious enough to come back and finish our season for us, and it's highly and very much so appreciated.
Well, you're quite welcome. I'm happy to do it.
And you will be on the schedule for next year. I'll be sending out an email to the presenters and to get your best time of doing it and date and that sort of thing. So we'll start building the schedule. Probably I'll start sending stuff out in August. Okay.
Adding twice, because as good as this is, we'll all be glued to it.
I see that big hopper.
Careful, guys. He won't be able to get out of the door here. Keep it up. No, it was fantastic.
I had somebody show me and guide me, and I'm welcome to return the favor.
It's an awesome technique, and I know it's got to be very satisfying.
Yeah. And as much thread as I use, you can't say that I'm not tying the fly.
That's true. All right, Fred. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put my ugly mug up there real quick. And
one quick question. What kind of bobbin are you using?
That one is a right bobbin
Okay.
with a ceramic tip, and I've got it completely loose.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay. With that, we'll go ahead and move on. Again, thanks, Fred.
You're quite welcome.
And
Thanks, everybody.
you betcha. And before I close her down, I promised I'd put up the page. It has the link for the YouTube videos. If you'll take a look right here, that's the link. If you want to take a picture of it or write it down real quick or a screenshot, I'll give you that opportunity. I'm learning how to do all this stuff as far as editing and getting it up there. And I've got a couple done, but they're not up there yet. I'm too picky, let's put it that way. But I just gotta bite the bullet here pretty quick and just say, here we go. I'll be anxious to put Fred's up as well as the rest of them, because everybody was so fantastic this year. Can't say enough about our instructors. So with that, any questions, any comments, last comments before we go? Okay, and if not, I got one last slide. It's been a pleasure. It has been a real pleasure for me to do this. I just, even this is a wrap on our 24-25 season, I'm going to miss these Tuesdays until we start again in the fall. I appreciate all of you for taking your time and your patience to come out and watch this. And again, to all of our volunteer instructors, you've been fantastic. We'll be starting up in October, probably right around the 1st of October. You all have a very safe summer. Catch lots of fish and tight lines to y'all. And finally, one last time, thank you all. Thanks again, Fred.
Oh, you're welcome.